Let's be real for a second. The world is not exactly suffering from a shortage of shirts. Your drawers are probably full. You do not need our merch. Nobody needs our merch. But do you want it? Maybe. If you're a loyal listener of Bite Me and you've been looking for a way to support the show, without actually having to mail cash in an envelope, there is a solution. Introducing bitemepodcast.shop, the low-commitment, high-fun merch store. I use print on demand, which is just a fancy way of saying I don't have a creepy garage full of unsold hoodies. There's one eco-friendly shirt made at a time when you order one. There's also patches and stickers and recipe cards too. So if you need an excuse to refresh your laundry day wardrobe or up your sticker game, and you want to support the show, this is your perfect, almost guilt-free opportunity. Go to bitemepodcast.shop, get a cool shirt, and help me keep the lights on. Thanks, friend. You're the best. What happens when you take a love of food, a passion for culture, and a knowledge of cannabis, and you toss them all into one bowl? You get Bite Me, the podcast that explores the intersection of food, culture, and cannabis, and helps cooks make great edibles at home. I'm your host, Margaret, a certified ganjier, TCI certified cannabis educator, and I believe your kitchen is the best dispensary you'll ever have. Together, we'll explore stories, science, and the sheer joy of making edibles safe and effective at home. So preheat your oven and let's get ready for a great episode. And today I am joined for episode 325 by Ishqa Hillman. Ishqa hosts a podcast, runs incredible events, and is the founder of Canna Boss Babes. What's a Canna Boss Babe? I'm glad you asked. The Canna Boss Babes are a collective of cannabis professionals who are dedicated to empowering entrepreneurship and creating opportunities for diversity to thrive within the industry. We cover a number of topics in this conversation, like how Ishqa transitioned from a corporate career to the cannabis industry, how she created a vibrant community around the Canna Boss Babes, the hurdles that small business in the cannabis space have to confront, and how they can remain competitive, and a whole lot more. Ishqa has become a voice in the cannabis community and the cannabis industry that is worth listening to. So without making you wait any longer, please enjoy this conversation with Ishqa Hillman. All right, we're live. Ishqa, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to have you on Bite Me, the show about edibles. And before we get into today's conversation, if you could just let the listeners of Bite Me know a little bit about yourself and your cannabis journey.
Yeah. Well, it was unexpected. I know that. I kind of always go and I default to saying I'm just a single mom. And so I am a single mom. I entered the industry when my daughter turned 18, but when she was about 12, I started using cannabis medically. I was struggling from some severe social anxiety. It took about 4 years before I was leaving the house regularly, like a normal person again.
Wow.
But I went to work and I took my daughter to school, and that was pretty much the gist of it. And cannabis really helped me. Basically what had happened, and I didn't even realize it, was I had been operating without any kind of healing for a very, very long time. And not without any healing, but I had a very traumatic childhood. I was on the streets and in juvenile halls and group homes as a kid. So I think my default is always figure it out and keep going. And so I'm very good at that. And it caught up with me after a while. And so cannabis really, I couldn't fucking sleep for it was months. It was so long. And cannabis helped me start falling asleep at night. It started helping me slow down and breathe. And then eventually really just do some work on my own mindset, which led to further healing, the ability to go outside to a cannabis event and continue to grow. So,
right. So what drew you to cannabis in the first place then, as a tool to help you through a lot of the stuff that you've been through versus other options that would be out there?
Oh, I tried a lot of other options. I mean, that was, I worked corporate for almost 20 years. Like I had great insurance. So, the doctors were prescribing all the different options. I've
Right.
just always been really sensitive to medication. And so, they prescribe me something and they're like, you'll feel it in 2 weeks. And 2 days later, I'm like, my skin's crawling, something's crawling under my skin, get it out of me. And they're like,
Right.
there's no way you can even feel it by now. I was like, no, get it the fuck out of me. Like, I don't like this. Like my walls are moving in my office. This is not what I want,
Yeah.
So I think being that sensitive has limited my options, but also always made me really interested in plant medicine. Like one of the oldest books on my bookshelf is like this, 4-inch thick natural encyclopedia from when my daughter was a baby. So, like I've always really loved plant medicine and been interested in how we've always healed ourselves with what's around us and what is naturally provided for us. And so, yeah, I think definitely there was a little bit of stigma to get over. I think being a young single mom and it not always being legal when she was little, right? And being too afraid in my professional life and what I was trying to build for us, financially to go and get a medical card or be on a list somewhere, different things. So it took a while before I started using it as medicine. It definitely was like a fun little sneak recreation thing before
Right.
that.
Yeah. So you had a
You
little
know.
bit of experience with it beforehand, but
Oh
using it as
yeah,
a
I mean, I
medicinal
started
tool.
smoking it when I was like 12. So yeah,
Right.
like, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
Bad
Yeah.
kid, remember? Like
Yeah.
not.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Now
Yeah.
you did mention that you were working in corporate for a long time. So I'm glad you mentioned that because that sort of leads into my next question, which was that you worked a corporate job, had built a career for 20 years, and then you have become a prominent voice in the cannabis industry. And that's a pretty major shift going from corporate to the cannabis industry. What was the most pivotal moment that made you decide to leave the corporate world and go dedicate yourself to cannabis and the Canna Boss Babes?
Well, um, loaded question. And let's preface it by saying I was never a very good corporate employee. I
Right.
always asked too many questions. I always said a little too much shit. I was, definitely always the one that was like, I mean, when I used to work for American Honda Motor Company, and it's a great company. I loved my experiences there. Having FedEx on site is a game changer when you suck at shipping things. While I worked there, all my Christmas presents were on time. I've never been on time outside of that. So, things like that on site, like having your car get serviced and it like disappears while you're at work and it comes back and it's clean. And like,
Right.
there's definitely some perks that are nice, right? I loved it. It was great. I loved the whole, work Barbie outfits and 6-inch heels I used to wear then too, because hey, I was in my 20s. So all of that was really great. But I left because there were things that were not in alignment with what they said their values were. And that didn't make sense to me. And when things don't make sense to me, I ask questions. and in environments like that, much like in the administration we have here in the United States today, they don't like that. So when I was 29, I left, working in large corporations to start working in smaller businesses where I felt I could have more of an impact and also help with some of those other things in order to create I've always called it a better human experience, right? It's like, yes,
Right.
of course, the customer experience, you want the sales, but that really begins with the employee experience. And the employee experience is improved through, clear communication, efficient operations, and some fun little perks, right? Like treating them like humans.
Yes. Yeah. I
So
feel like more people need to be doing that these days, but
yes.
yeah.
Well, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that was what I
So,
thought I'd be doing. The transition to cannabis was such an interesting thing because it was not planned. I had actually, um, cannabis had been helping me heal for a few years into my last job. And my last company was amazing company in the architectural industry. It was a 10-year-old business here in Long Beach, 8 people making 6 figures. They were all very moderately happy. My hiring seminar, it was like me and a bunch of other people. And I was like, I remember standing at the door and the owner's like literally closing the door because we're like done. And I'm like wanting to know, well, what have your thoughts been on franchising and expanding? And I'm just curious, you know, I'm always curious. Um, and and I ended up getting the job. And so within 5 years' time, I helped them grow to 3 locations, 2 states, $5.8 million through improving their different systems and just a lot of things. I know a lot over there. But it was time. Like there's something that I tell my daughter is in a transition right now. She's 24, that sometimes the universe will use people around you to move you. You know, like when our
mm-hmm.
time is done, it's done. And so I had no idea about the cannabis industry. I hadn't even considered that, but I knew that my time was coming to an end. And and the reason why I wear the 710 necklace is because before I even knew what it meant, I resigned on 7/10/2019.
Okay.
And so 11 days later was actually when I went to cannabis education, like little thing after work. One of the women I had hired for that company years before was moonlighting as a bud tender because, you know, we could do that here then. And so I was like, yeah, sure. I'm curious about learning more, you know, because I it had helped me so much already at that point. I was curious. In
Mm-hmm.
an industry and like, oh, brands and people and okay. And I go in and yeah, there were tons of brands, tons of people. The room was way too packed. But there was also speakers. And that's where I heard the term endocannabinoid system for the first time. And my life was changed in that instant. I got visuals. I always say, I always go like this too, because I saw prison bars on this side with the doors opening and a golden cage with the door opening. And I just was like, everyone has a right to know what this system does and that it's in our body. And like, we all deserve to be free. So,
Right.
yeah.
I love that.
Why?
The ECS, the endocannabinoid system, is what changed you. That's really cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, how did Canna Boss Babes come about then after that?
So that was such a funny thing because I had actually gotten my business license and built a website and brochures and business cards and the whole shebang, Margaret, for what I thought was going to be a curated culture. And so my idea when I left there was that I was going to be doing business consulting and then working in juvenile halls on my free time with kids like me to help just teach them some of the things it took me decades to learn about myself and my capabilities and my place in this world and what I'm capable of. And I'm still learning those things. 48, still learning those things. But you know, I thought that's what the plan was going to be. The Canna Boss Babes resulted because from that first meeting, I started meeting people left and right. And so it was the strangest things because I really only talked to the people I worked with for 4 years, right? Like I didn't talk
Right.
to other people for 4 years. All of a sudden, there's all these different people, and I'm meeting them all, and they're all very entrepreneurial. You know, like Prop 64 had just passed, so recreation had just legalized. So everyone's very hopeful and like wanting to have a part within this ecosystem that we're building here. And it was just really inspiring to meet all these incredible women and then find out, oh, wait, they didn't know each other. So, like, from the beginning, even though I was the new girl, I was like, oh, well, you need you, and you need you, and you need you. And then simultaneously, here I am, because I'm a corporate mom, kind of fresh out of corporate, right? I'm looking for all the events. I'm paying way too much money for a lot of these things. And trying to find community. And the women's groups at the time were not nice. They were mean girls. And so then also, as I'm having conversations with these individual women that are amazing and need inspiration, I'm hearing about these mean girls. And I was like, it's just so weird. And so how it happened was, I was one day sitting with two of my friends, and one of them was being threatened on Instagram to have her page taken down if she didn't unfollow someone.
Oh, wow.
And my response was, at the time, I'm 42. My daughter's 18. I don't understand. We'll just create a new space and then people don't have to choose. And I went into Instagram and the Canna Boss Babes was available. Canna Boss Babes had been something from years before, but it hadn't been touched in years. So I was like, okay, the Canna Boss Babes. Like, we're Canna Boss Babes. We don't have time for this. Like, we're doing things. And a week later, I bought the domain, and a few months later, 2 weeks later, we did our first event with my brother from another mother, Rika Lamit. And it took off. Like, from the beginning, though, people are like, oh, I've heard of you. Oh, I've heard of you. And I think it just was the name, right? Like, I think the name was one of those names, like, oh yeah, but yeah, that's what it is. And so, we've got a couple little Canna Boss Babe roles. The first one being, and the first one's always the main one, but a Canna Boss Babe handles their own business first. And that is for us to know that we can prioritize ourselves and should prioritize ourselves. But then also, as the group collective, to not get upset when we go off and take care of ourselves in whatever way that looks like, but to celebrate the return, right? To celebrate that's a hard thing to do, to go against the group, right? And do what you need to do for you. But that's a good thing, and we celebrate that here. So that was one really important to me. And then the other one is, a Canna Boss Babe makes up their own mind, because, like, I don't want to be responsible for anybody else's life decisions. Like, we're here to share information, and then we all support each other's decisions in whatever was best in that moment for them. Because yeah, I just think that control stuff's weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree with that. So you started Canna Boss Babes, and it started out as I understand, an entrepreneurial support platform, but now you've grown into a multifaceted brand. You have a podcast, you do some consulting services and events. So what was your original version for Canna Boss Babes, and how has it evolved over the years? Obviously touching on the fact that you have all these cool things happening under one umbrella.
Thank you. It's really funny. I started this with a whole bunch of other people, right? Like, it was like a group of us. It was the pandemic. We had all this free time. A lot of us had a little extra free money. And so when it got started, there were a lot of ideas, and also the recreational industry was new and fresh, and there was still money. And in California, we are struggling so hard. That's not here. That's not real. A lot of those were dreams. And they're beautiful dreams, and we'll see them through. It just wasn't going to be as quickly as maybe we thought as a group at the beginning. And so, as the world went back into its new normal, and people went back to work, and the kids are back in school, actually in school. And, and Instagram took our page in 2021, the end of 2021, after 804 lives, which that just crushed a lot of the babes. I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, people always talk to me about, oh, your consistency is though it's a good thing. And I'm always like, there might be something wrong with me though. Like, I don't know that that's a good thing. Like, I'm glad you think it's a good thing, but there might be, like, sometimes I don't know why I keep going. But I do. It's really honestly for the conversations, to be able to share the stories. It's my purpose. I don't know how to explain it other than that. Is like, it lights me up to be able to see and provide a space to allow others to feel their impact in the world.
Right. Yeah, that's such a beautiful thing. And that's one of the reasons why I love having guests on my show to talk about how they're sharing their cannabis message with other people. And so you, like I mentioned, you have a podcast, and it's a top-ranking podcast for women in cannabis. And what do you believe is the key to its success? And what are some of the most impactful stories you've had the opportunity to share? And, asking for a friend. So,
yeah. Gosh, I I think the key to its success is that I just kind of started doing it, right? That no one had to be perfect, that no one that we were just doing it, just having the conversations, imperfect as they are. I think that allows for more listeners and more people to self-identify and resonate with what's possible for them in hearing the real raw stories from others. And so, I think sometimes that we see a lot of, podcasts and everything looks shiny and fancy. And so we think that that's only for shiny and fancy people and not for us.
right.
And I pride myself on being a space that's for anyone who asks for it. I've had people who don't even smoke cannabis. I had a woman reach out once and asked to be on the podcast, and she waited her. I mean, I'm backed up, you guys. Like, I'm booking 2026 right now. It's September. Like, and she waited her, I think it was like 2 months, and then came on, and she didn't even know what CBD was. She just was on there and wanted to share the importance of women joining the trucking industry, both as a great way to be able to homeschool and raise your child from the road, a great income, and also the more women that we have on the road, the more we can protect other women in the world.
Right. Yeah. I love that you're also sharing stories of people who don't necessarily consume cannabis as well, because we need those allies in the cannabis space. And there's some of the best allies out there, or advocates as well for the plant.
I mean, it was awesome because I got to start the show with teaching her a little bit about our plant too. And usually it's just me like, okay, teach me what you know.
Right. Yeah.
It was great, like that's good too. But my favorites, man, I feel so blessed. I'm totally going to start bawling again. I feel so blessed to have done this work. And I don't even know all the lives that I've touched, but I do know that the people that reach out let me know, like, the impact's real, Carl Wagner, high school teacher in Indiana. Indiana doesn't even have medical. Like, they're not anywhere. They're not even trying to do any of that. For years, he watched the show with like an Instagram handle. No one would know who he is. Years. Joined the Weed Mom Book Club, was the only guy in the Weed Mom Book Club, and showed up every week, but had his video camera completely off to protect his identity because, again, scary situation in Indiana. Mm-hmm. And after a couple years, and after even coming on the show and sitting in the dark and sharing his story like America's Most Wanted, like... just a few months after that, he ended up posting on Facebook and this beautiful op-ed as to why it's time for Indiana to wake up and start having this conversation. And now he leads a group of over 2,000 people on Facebook, and that grew to like 1,000 within the first year. And it just is so beautiful to see someone who was too afraid to advocate learn so much that they can't help but to.
Right. Yeah.
And so like Carl, damn, and respect, because it's still not okay there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
he's still dealing with that. And so I think anyone who can put themselves out there and at risk that way. My babe Misty is also one of my favorites. She was watching the show. She's actually local to me. She was watching the show. My daughter was helping me with all the social media and stuff at first, because it was a lot with all the different hosts and shows and things. You know, we had 10 shows a week. So it was a lot. And then she decided she was going to go and get a job. So I was like, ooh, I'm going to need some help. So I like put out a little call, and Missy's like, oh, I want to help with social media. And I was like, okay. And so we ended up meeting in person, which was fun because we'd been, you know, engaging online for a long time. And I asked her, and I ask everyone this, what is it that you really want to do? Because I love to find ways for people to do that. That's what lights me up. Mm-hmm. And that's also what the show is about. And so she says, I really want to grow. I said, well, do you have experience? She's like, not really, like a little at home. I was like, okay. I don't know what it is. I always tell people, give me like 48 hours. I got a phone call from a friend of mine. I also have a nonprofit. And so from the mental health sector, from my nonprofit life, right? Call me. She's like, you're the only person I know in cannabis. My husband's friend has a grow. He just lost his guy. Do you know anyone? And I said, well, would you consider a woman? And she says, well, can she lift 50 pounds? I said, well, if Misty's not dabbing on her Instagram, she's lifting weights on her Instagram. Right. So I'm pretty sure she can. She went in there on like a couple days later on that Monday. 3 months later, she was running that grow on her own. Now she's one of like the top fucking cultivators at one of the top brands actually in the world. And I won't name them because the owner doesn't want her to get poached. So, but like things like that, you know, like really being able to, you know, but it's also been things like last year at the network show, there was a young woman who I'd never even seen before. And she was, you don't know me, but a couple of years ago, you said something on your story and I quit my job and handed me her vape. She's like, and now I have my own brand. So like, it's just,
cool.
It's a lot, you know, like it's a variety of things.
And it sounds like you're a real connector of people as well, which is, you know, I think the world needs more of that. It needs more of that kind of sentimentality around rising tides lift all ships. There's space for all of us in this cannabis industry, but you've created a really strong community around the Canna Boss Babes, emphasizing inclusivity and support. What are some of the biggest challenges and rewards of fostering community in an industry that's still pretty stigmatized?
You know, the marketing, right? Like the limitations that we have on social media, the limitations on really being able to expand in order to let more people know this community exists. I'd say that's probably the biggest challenge. Other things are also, it can be a challenge for me at times. I'm definitely human, not perfect at all, but this industry has really, and community has really taught me, and this plant has really taught me to give myself and others more grace. 80% of disabilities are invisible, and this plant is a medicine. We really don't know. We make a lot of assumptions based on how people look, that we have an idea of what they've been through. And the truth is we really have no idea. And so I think sometimes there can be challenges with that, with, you know, There's also challenges for me, because I had the social anxiety to all of a sudden go to very much more public position,
Yes.
is
Yeah.
I don't always um I I have spent so much of my life looking to help people live to their highest selves. Not, high on weed, but highest calling. And so I see that in a lot of people. And sometimes people want that for themselves, but the work to do that's hard. And they don't
Right.
always want to do that part. And so I think sometimes the hardest part for me, and I'm getting better, much better, is detaching from when they're not ready. And so really just like, look, creating more of, this is an opportunity. I'd love to explore this with you. When you're ready to show up for you, let me know. And so I
Right.
used to chase, and now I don't chase anymore.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's funny you touched on the social anxiety again, because I find it like you seem so outgoing, and I
I
feel like I
know
could learn
everyone says
something
that.
from you about that. And it's hard to imagine that you would have any kind of social anxiety. So that's
I know.
incredible to me. Yeah.
I'm at home. I'm at home. My daughter and I talk about it as, so I say there's like 3 anchors that I have when I go out. And it's, do I know the people I'm going? Do I know the place I'm going? And do I know what the fuck I'm going to wear? like that's always the most anxiety producing.
Right.
Especially if I don't know where I'm going and maybe I'm arriving alone. Right. And so like, I don't know the parking situation, or like, I don't know.
Right. So those
Like,
are the 3 things that you try and like figure out ahead of time, or one of those 3 things
yeah.
to make you feel
Yeah.
more
Although,
comfortable.
I have to say now with cannabis, the control I need to have over those things has changed.
Right. Yeah.
And so now, I mean, one, I usually am going places where I'm going to know people. I went to New
Right.
York earlier this year and I knew people there. So, like, it surprises me how small this industry really is, and I love
Right.
it. I'm grateful. I always have that anchor now, right? I may not know where I'm going or what I'm going to wear, but I know I'm going to know somebody. That helps. But also, I developed a mindset in order to be able to go out and do all this. One, what you see here, I'm comfortable. I'm at home. Like I've been saying for years, like it's funny to me that this has blown up so much because I'm just a mom on her couch. I'm chilling at home. I'm talking to people. Like, how much more comfortable does this get? I'm wearing pajama shorts underneath this dress right now. Like I mean, we're
Right.
dressed from the top up. Like, yeah, this is easy. Like I can be at ease here at home. I'm also high. Like, I've got my stuff. I had a couple bowls this morning before we did this, as early as it is. So that helps. But also I really love the conversations and the one-on-ones. Like I love that. I do a group thing though too. We have an online group that we host bi-weekly on Mondays. And that's been awesome, with people literally all over the world joining us. Like and all over the industry. It's really kind of amazing, all the different people that come together and the ways that we continue to find to connect. So, yeah. So I might be
Yeah.
high and lost how to answer the question. Did I answer the
No,
question?
that's fine. You've touched on too about the survival squeeze that small operators in the cannabis industry face. What do you think are the biggest hurdles for small business and entrepreneurs who are trying to succeed in a super competitive landscape? And also, I mean, I know this all too well myself, but just a landscape with players that have much deeper pockets than I do, or some of these other small players might.
I mean, even the ones with the deeper pockets, those pockets are getting more shallow, right? Like
Right.
really honestly, the biggest challenge is regulations. The whole federally rescheduling. My prediction, and I've been sounding like a conspiracy theorist online for a year now, but I think people are starting to believe me now, is that if we get rescheduled, how they're going to take out the smaller shops is by forcing them to have a pharmacist on staff. And that's no small salary.
Right. Right.
But if it's Schedule 3,
Yeah.
that's standard operating. So
Right.
the regulations are a big one. Here in California, taxes were raised even further on July 1st. It was announced yesterday that they will be dropped, but not effective until October 1st, which why are you trying to take 3 months from people that you made that decision knowing we don't have it? But that's
Right.
another way to take businesses out is so we see different phases. There's certain events of the year that you see that shortly after, usually businesses are gone. It will
Oh,
be like
wow.
their last big hurrah. And then a week later, oh, all these layoffs. That's a very
Right.
common thing we see around here. Taxes definitely take people out. We've got that a couple times a year, that goes through phases. And so what we've been seeing, as we're going into our 6th year, right, of rec is that these investors even are like tired and this is a little too long a game for them too.
Right.
So that's the biggest challenge. And then because of those taxes, the prices being too high, things not moving in the dispensaries. So then even the quality at the dispensary is less, even though you're paying more. So the traditional market is thriving once again.
Right.
And,
Yeah.
and honestly, that all comes down to an issue with accessibility.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So I guess you're suggesting that legislation is sort of the only way out of that, but that always seems like there's big
I
hurdles around that.
do, because that's how we need banking. We need tax write-offs. We need the ability to be able to market publicly and provide education and not just leave it up to some Netflix show to like half-ass what the experience of weed is. Like,
Right.
we're getting better content, but there's still so much stigma around the content that is being produced, and it actually pisses me off. So
Yeah,
I love
yeah.
the TV show Shameless, and the last season of Shameless, they did weed so dirty.
I don't remember that. And I watched all of it. Did they?
Oh yeah. No, they did weed so dirty. One of the first episodes of the season was that 2 guys in the bar, I think, ate a brownie or something and got stupid high, and then ended up like
because they had a
making
whole weed
out, or
business
after years of being heterosexual, now all of a sudden are homosexual. And there's nothing wrong with homosexuality, but to sit there and like say that weed made them do I've
a little reefer
never
madness.
known anyone to get high off weed and make a decision like that suddenly.
Right.
Like that.
Yeah.
That's not
that
a
sounds
thing.
It sounds very reefer madness like.
Yeah,
And
it
I
really
totally
was.
forgot about
It
that
pissed me
storyline.
off. Like, as real as that show had been for so many other things, my daughter and I laugh. Frank Gallagher in that show is the father.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
is like my dad. Like every single episode my daughter and I saw, we'd be like, oh, Poppy. And that is my dad. He even kind of looks like him. It's wild. So they got so many other things right. And yeah, they fucked that up. It made me mad.
Yeah, because I had totally forgotten that didn't 2 of the characters that ran the bar start a business selling edibles out of the bar? Yeah. I totally forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah, I'm always surprised that the stigma is still hanging on so much, even though legalization, like where you are and where I am, has been around for a while. It just always surprises me that the mainstream isn't catching on faster. I don't get it. But I guess there's still a lot of forces working against it, unfortunately.
It's really interesting. It's mainstream media, and it's the same thing that we see in our news, right? Like, we know we can't trust our news. Our news is propaganda. Mainstream media is too. Everything that we are fed or get to pay a subscription for is going to be what they want us to see and think. I find content from real people way better. I love it. Like, who doesn't love a good like food account on Instagram, right? We all love
Right.
to get high
Yeah.
and look at the good foodie things. I am no exception. I watch way too much food videos, but that's okay. And I love seeing like the chefs that'll just sit there and like, they're not even like stoner chefs necessarily or anything like that, but they'll be like, I just had an edible. We're going to make this. And then like you even see them as they eat it at the end, their eyes are so low, but they're so happy. And I'm like,
Right.
just that, right? Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I love it.
maybe we'll get there one day. Who knows? I guess we'll just have to wait and see, wait it out. But
I mean,
now,
I've always said it's like, I feel like it's like the railroad. So I've always thought that like, this is like, we're building the railroad and some lives are taken and become a part of the railroad so that future generations can ride it more easily. And that's the work with this. That is the work with cannabis and bringing back plant medicine to the people.
yeah, and that's so true too, because like there's kids growing up right now where I live that have never known it not to be legal, which is crazy to me. But yeah, dispensaries have always been there, and it's like that's their life. And I'm like, wow, a lot of people waited
the
a long
conversation I
time.
had with my daughter when she was younger was it was medicine. She always saw it as medicine for me, and it helped that she would see its effect, right? Like she would know, like, oh, we'd be out shopping and have to run a bunch of errands because it's like school shopping and like, oh my God. And I have social anxiety. So like, I don't want to do any of this, but we got to because I love you. And so anything for you, boo-boo. Like, and yeah. And she'd be like, Mom, here, take your vape. Like,
This will help. Yeah. Yeah. Now, social equity in the cannabis industry is something that gets talked a lot about, but often it's a lot of words and not a lot of action.
Yeah.
From your perspective, what are the most critical steps that need to be taken for a more equitable and just industry?
Oh God. Okay. So the reason why I'm hesitating is because my very first thought was fuck the government. I don't know. And I'm sitting here like trying like, well, how do I say that in a nice way though? And then I'm like, well, no, but fuck the government. And honestly, it's a setup. So social equity was a really good idea to make certain people feel good about things and like, oh, and to like get the support of and like, oh, it's a thing. But I learned very early on in working with a subcommittee here and my local government in the lovely city of Long Beach, California, years ago in their social equity department that, as long as the government's going to hire idiots and people who are willfully ignorant, and it's by mandate, I'm sure, and like, certain psych profiles only, IQ's very low. There's a willful ignorance there. My first call with them, so basically the very first year of social equity, only one of 87 candidates made it through and got their loan. Only one of 87.
Right.
The very first call. So we spent, as a subcommittee, we spent months having conversations with people who are social equity, conversations with other operators in the space. I'm a part of my local LBCA, Long Beach Collective Association. It's different cannabis operators. I, of course, do not hold a license. However, being adjacent and volunteering for them from the very first time I heard endocannabinoid system at their event. I'm active. You can't get me out of this stuff. So, yeah, the very first meeting we had with our city department was, hey, there's a problem. Only one of 87 candidates made it through your system, which means that it doesn't work. And here's like the different points as to why. And they said, no. Only one out of 87 wanted it bad enough.
Oh, interesting. That's an interesting way to look at that.
I just don't.
Right.
I was like, You got to be that dumb on purpose. Like it was, you have conversations with them, and it is, you sit in city council meetings and they're dumb on purpose. You know, you talk about the environmental impact of bringing in these giant cruise ships, and they're like, huh? Vote yes.
Right.
We want the money. And it's just, yeah, fuck the government.
So do you think there's anything that can be done to improve those kind of numbers? Like when they have social equity programs for
Here's the
cannabis
other thing.
loans?
Social equity and the way that they're set up is to put additional burden on other cannabis businesses. Social equity is not the responsibility of the cannabis industry. The cannabis industry has already been negatively impacted by the lack of social equity in the world, in every industry, in as a whole. So to put the burden, so even the way that it's written again, right? Like it's good PR. So my wonderful mayor, Rex Richardson, who I'm not allowed to tag online anymore. He is such a sellout, but he, you know, I mentioned earlier, nonprofit. My partner in the nonprofit during the pandemic, our local community here in the park, the homeless issue, way out of control. We celebrated their 2-year anniversary of serving people shower truck, laundry truck, clothing, food weekly, like, you know, trying to serve 100 people each week. Like it's not enough, but it's something. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden you see after 2 years, an article in the newspaper with Rex and about 10 other people none of us have ever seen before talking about all the services we've been providing as though they've been providing it. Right. And I'm like, who are any of those people? So it's PR. Everything with politics is PR. And that's the thing that, honestly, these cannabis conversations have taught me in the last 6 years is what a setup it all is.
Right. Yeah. So there is no real answer from our government, essentially, which kind of makes sense to me. Like, it does make sense to me.
No, it's intended to fail. All of this is intended to fail. If they really wanted this industry to succeed, they would not make it so hard to survive in. Taxes are 36%. Right now, 39%, going back down to 36% in October 1st. Woo! 36%. When I first entered this space, because again, I was like business consulting, right? And I heard 36% and there's no financing and there's no marketing. And 36% in taxes alone is more than overhead is in most other businesses. The entire overhead. And that's just taxes. That's not employees. That's not rent. That's not SCE and their bullshit electric bill either. What?
Right.
So I don't know what's wrong with me. Like I said earlier, there's something wrong with me. I like a challenge. Let's go. And that's kind of what happened.
Yeah, because the cannabis space is definitely very challenging to operate in. I find even being in Canada, and we've had legalization like rec for about over 6 years now. It's not any easier up here in a lot of ways because
you don't have marketing. Stuff. Your packaging is all right. Like,
yeah, there's pretty much none. So there's definitely challenges here as well. But as a woman, you've broken a lot of barriers and you operate in a really male-dominated space. Even though we're all here celebrating the plant, which is female, somehow it's still very male-dominated. But what advice would you give for other women who are looking to build a career in the cannabis space? And are there any particular opportunities right now that are great for women, in your opinion?
Oh, I mean, I think there's always opportunities that are great for women to be in this space. It's not hard. It's not, if you want a soft life, if you're a soft life kind of gal, don't come here. Right. You have to be willing to be, chewed up and spit out a few times. I've earned a lot of cannabis stripes. I used to be uncomfortable with people calling me an OG because I don't feel like 6 years has been all that long, but actually I've been through a few things. I got some stripes over here. So, don't come expecting it to be easy. come because this plant has changed your life, not because you want to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You're here.
I don't expect to make money. If you're someone who is able to serve a lot of people and do consultant type work, similar to myself, or 1099, definitely keep clients in other industries. That will help you keep your lights on, in between. And find community. Be wary, though. Also, there are, again, like 80% of disabilities are invisible going on. And also a lot of people are very, cannabis has attracted a lot of really amazing healing centered people, and also a lot of opportunists. And sometimes you can't tell them apart until it's too late. So, be
Right.
patient.
Yeah.
Don't dive in too quickly. Do your research. But also don't judge people based on other people's experiences entirely, because, everyone's got their reason for their perspective.
Right. Yeah. And I do love that you mentioned to find community as well, because I think that that's something that we all need, regardless of whether you're in the cannabis space or just living your life out in the world. Like we need people
Yeah.
to
We
to
need
be around
people.
us
We need
and to
people.
support us.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
would say join one of the Canna Boss Babes Connect groups, every other Monday evening. We've done 3. We just did the 3rd one last night. It's an idea I've had forever. I had a guest on my podcast recently that was talking about being really lonely, like having so much work she doesn't get to leave work very often, but wanting that community. And so we can meet online. That's an easy thing. And I was like, I've been thinking about doing, let me just do it. Let me just stop talking. Let me just do it. And it's been amazing. Like the very first one, it's limited to 50 people. We end up having about half show up because, it's a free event online.
Yeah.
People forget and realize I didn't pay anything for it. So I'm going to go eat dinner instead. And that's fine. But it's been about 20 people each time, 20 to 25. And we just kind of share who we are, what we're doing in the space, maybe some of what we're working on, how we'd like to serve, or what we could use. And from the very first meeting, there was someone who needed an employee. 3 of the other people ended up applying. One of them got hired. The other 2 ended up with one-on-ones with me, and one of them's going off, and I've connected her already to someone else to do something that was even more aligned with what she really wants to do. And so, it's really exciting. We've always got new people. There's definitely a lot of familiar faces. There's big names from all over the industry too. I really love my friends. I'm so blessed. Like I geek out that these are my people. These are my friends.
Right.
Like Luna Stower comes and sleeps on my couch when,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's very cool that you started, you call it Canna Boss Babes Connect. I really love that idea. And honestly, when you said that you just wanted to do it, my mantra this year has been just fucking do it, because so often, I just overthink things. And I'm sure this is an experience common to many people. You just overthink things. You're waiting for it to be perfect. Like all these reasons why you can't just do it. And then when you do it, you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I did. Just like with your calls that you're hosting on Monday nights. So I love that. Yeah.
Well, in writing, it just was published for the first time 2 weeks ago.
Oh, cool.
And hosted my first panel last week as well. And those are 2 things that, hosting a panel I've been wanting to do. Writing I've always loved to do, but I had in my head for the longest time, I didn't go to school for that. I've not worked in even though I've literally created a magazine at everywhere I've ever worked. And I've done it informally so many places throughout my entire life. So that was a huge thing. I wasn't even planning on doing that. It ended up being the publication wanted my connection to be in it, and then said, oh, well, Ishqa will write an article about you. And then ended up telling me, I told them you'd write an article. And I was like, you did, huh? Okay.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you just have to do it.
Because it unlocked something in me in that I've always loved to write. I write a ton on my blog. And I've always been like, oh, I'm not a writer. And now I get to be like,
Right. Yeah. Cause you just fucking did it. I love it.
And it was great. And everyone loved it. So it was like, that's exciting and affirming too, is, you know, So I get to just share more stories in more formats and more ways.
Right.
And I've been getting really into like the SEO and the blog and building out the website to also, again, just draw more attention to all of the stories, you know? So yeah.
Yeah. Now, this is a question that I like to ask a lot of the guests that I have on my show. So, what would surprise people about you?
Oh, that I'm not really extroverted.
That is surprising to me. You seem very gregarious. So I'm like,
I'm at home. I told
yeah,
you, I'm a shorts. I love spending time alone. I really spend so much time alone and
I do
so
too.
much time in my head. And I even like laugh at myself at how much I really do just entertain myself and dream up new work to do and new projects to do. Like no one pays me to do this. Like I come up with this stuff on my own. I just keep giving myself more work to do. And I love it. And it's just so fun. And I love being alone. I think especially right now, being perimenopausal as well. I love sleeping alone. I go to bed at night and I like stretch out. I'm like, I'm so glad I don't have to share with anybody. Like if I wake up at 1:00 in the morning and I can't sleep for 4 hours, like I'm just chilling and smoking weed in the living room. And like no one's asking me, are you okay? Are you gonna come to bed? Or you like, no, go away. Like sometimes it might be nice if dinner was delivered to my desk because I'm not getting up, but and working late. But you know, other than that, I really love being alone. And then when I go out to my events, it's lovely and wonderful, but I do make sure to charge up a lot beforehand. And I make sure to give myself a few days afterwards, because some of the bigger events, like one of my favorite things to do is go walk every day. It's like almost 3 mile walk. And when I come back from big events, I don't even want to go on my walk because I don't even want to say hi to a neighbor. Like, I don't want to.
You got to recharge.
I think that's probably what would surprise people is like, I do end up becoming nonverbal. And then people are like, wait, what? And I'm like, I don't want to talk yet.
I'm not ready. I've got to recharge the social battery. Yeah. Now, finally, what is next for Canna Boss Babes? And do you have anything on the horizon that you're excited about in particular?
Yeah. So I am co-hosting a suite in Vegas again this year for MJ BizCon with my babe, Kelly Riddle, who I hosted a beautiful townhome in Hudson, New York earlier with. And so we're going to Vegas. We've got a corner suite at one of the top hotels. It's one of the ones you guys want to be at. And we've got Sarah Pyan coming in and hosting a few hours and doing some fun things. And Luna Stower's coming in and hosting a few hours. And we're going to have a fun little photo shoot at the Neon Graveyard with 10 lucky influencers. And, you know, just, I'm looking forward to more connections. I love Vegas. I love being able to have everyone come from all over the world, seeing all the babes together in person. But, you know, it can be overstimulating sometimes on the showroom floor, and like a lot, you know, there's so much going on. The conversations are like this versus when you have a suite where, you know, maybe we even have like massage therapist or something, and a nice little, you know, Dabby Dub bar. You can relax enough to have a conversation and to really explore where alignment is between you and growth opportunities. And that to me is what it's all about, is creating more connections so that we can create more opportunities for growth.
Yeah, that's amazing. So people can look out for you at MJ BizCon. And of course you have your podcast that people can tune into as well, because you do new episodes every... When do you put out new episodes?
Every week we put up a new one. I am taking off September. September's been a big month. There's been a lot of different events, but I will be back in October. And then I'm also going to be podcasting live from Ignite It, which is formerly Benzinga. Their California Market Spotlight is here in Anaheim on October 8th, and I'll be podcasting live from there as well.
That's amazing. So I'll be sure to include all this stuff in the show notes so people can find you and find where to connect with you. And Ishqa, I just want to thank you so much for your time today. It's been a really great conversation, and I appreciate you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Margaret. I can't wait for you to join me on mine.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too.
I trust that you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. I will include the links of where to find Ishqa and the Canna Boss Babes in the show notes. And please share this conversation with someone as curious about cannabis as you are. Join us over at the Bite Me Cannabis Club. And until next time, my friends, I am your host, Margaret, and stay high.